Good morning. Now we enter to the last segment of T.S. Eliot. After that, we have one or two tools that he prescribes to be discussed. This area now we deal with a very important what is called impersonality theory of the poetry. Impersonality. A very great topic. Sometimes you may expect a question from this area. This area is supported by poetic emotion. So major area is impersonality theory of the poetry supported by poetic emotion. That we can discuss in detail. So, impersonal theory of poetry is a remarkable contribution by T.S. Eliot. Probably we can say tradition and individual talent, This is simply explained and described. Tradition is okay, but once we depend on tradition, it will be a total imitation. So, T.S. Eliot says, you may depend tradition, but you should apply your individual talent. That is the reason some people say modern poets, especially T.S. Eliot, is a thief. Because they steal so many ideas from traditional poetry, traditional epics, and they imitate them in the poetry. But T.S. Eliot says, stealing is not an easy business. He says stealing ideas and epithets and images and examples from tradition is not so easy. To steal things is not easy. It should have, the thief should have some techniques. Means what? Applying the illusion of epics, illusion of Greek mythology is not easy unless the writer knows the real language of Greece and real awareness of the Greek epics. So, taking from all traditional books and traditional images, once you try, you should understand the language of the literature or alien literature or what is foreign literature, what is written in the language. So, the poet or the writer wants to take something from tradition, should know the language, should know the background of the literature, and he should read that literature. So, taking ideas from the traditional books and epics and make them illusion in the coming literature, present literature, not so easy business. That is why he says, you may depend on tradition, but should apply individual talent. That is why tradition and individual talent. Because we have no existence without past. We have no existence without tradition. Tradition should be there. But prominence should be given to your individual talent. Your individual intelligence to be applied. Then tradition will have a different phase. So, according to T.S. Eliot, poet and poem is separate. Poet may be a person, but unlike romanticism, poet is considered to be God. But our T.S. Eliot says, poem is on the one hand, poet is on the other hand. They are totally two different entities. They are two different poles. Feeling of the poem is different from the feeling of the poet. We cannot easily judge a piece of poem. Is really written the feeling of the poet. Feeling of the poet may be different. Once he wrote a poem, his personal feeling may not be applied in the feeling totality of the poem. Poem, once it is given, his duty is over. T.S. Eliot says, once feeling is given, poet will be different from poetry. So never judge a poet, never criticize a poet based on his poem, because his contribution to the literature through the poem is over when it is written, when it is over. That is the opinion of T.S. Eliot. Poet's relation to the past and next will be different. Old poets might have influenced a poet, but it is only take a policy. Earlier also this happening. Why? Tradition, ideas and images, even from Paradise Lost, from Greek mythologies, a lot of Iliads and other books, epics. We took so many ideas, so many items of information, or even gods will appear. All right, but only that is based on give and take policy. All right, it is not really meant for development of poetry. That is the idea of T.S. Eliot in his impersonality theory. It asserts given in taking, he has to repress it. Past and present, fusing it into a new component. According to T.S. Eliot, you depend on past, you take present, and you make it a fuse, you make it a combine, the new product will be coming. So never discard past, neither discard past nor discard present. Both of them are combined and give you a new thing, a novel thing. So no connection between his personality and the poem. Poet is always great. No dispute on that. Poet will be always great. His personality into his work, many things to say, his mind is full of ideas. A poet, according to T.S. Eliot, having lot of ideas, other feelings and thoughts will become his thoughts. That is the reason he says poetry is not a turning loose of emotions. But Wordsworth, Coleridge, and all other romantic poets gave importance to emotions. T.S. Eliot does not mean what emotion? Emotion is here nothing. Emotions recollection in tranquility, Wordsworth says. Emotions recollect in tranquility. This emotion is totally discarded by T.S. Eliot in modern literature. Here there is no scope for emotion, he says. Poetry is not a turning loose of emotion, but an escape from emotion. Look here. He says, from the emotion of the poet, you should escape from the emotion. So, poetry is considered to be a vehicle by which poet's emotions will transport you to another world. Means it is an escape from emotion. It is not the expression of personality, but an escape from personality. A poem does not show the personality of a poet, but it is really an escape from personality. That is the reason people say, what is it? Say, personality is different, emotion is different. So emotion does not become a tool. An emotion does not become a subject or by vehicle by which we can reintroduce thoughts into poetry. He says emotions are nothing here in the poem, and the poet wants to escape from emotion when he tries to write a poem. Emotion of art is impersonal. Honest criticism should be on poetry, not on the poet. T.S. Eliot says, people should criticize only poetry, not poet. Why? Poetry is different from poet. People say poetry and poem are same. No. His thoughts may be given to you. His thoughts may not be always his thoughts. So, you are allowed to criticize only the created, not creator. You are only allowed to, criticize the poem, not the poet. Because poet's personality is different. Eliot opposes the romantic concept. Because in the romantic revival time, poetry and poet were considered to be same. But according to new trends in new criticism, poetry is different from poet. Impersonality theory is anti-romantic, people say. And he says the past is never dead, it lives in the present. Why he gives importance to tradition? Past is not dead. Past is here because no importance for present without the past. That is why you may depend on tradition. You may collect ideas from traditional poetry, but something novel to be applied through your intelligence, through your individual talent, then only a new product will be exhibited from the combination of tradition and individuality. Artistic process is a process of personalization. Poet must surrender to his work. A nature of poet only can contribute the best. Poet and poem are separate. Coleridge says, same emotion the reader after reading a poem will be different from the poetic emotion. That is something what? That may be that you have to keep in mind. Romantic poets had kept his person and personality in the poem, whereas in 20th century, T.S. Eliot and his contemporaries do not apply their personality to the poem. That may be the reason Wordsworth says, my heart leaps up. These are the lines taken from his small poem Rainbow. He says in the Rainbow, Wordsworth says in the Rainbow, my heart leaps up when I behold a rainbow in the sky. Wordsworth says, what does it mean? Wordsworth expresses personality. T.S. Eliot says, but the heart of the reader may not leap up by reading the poem. What does it mean? When Wordsworth wrote, my heart leaps up, his heart might have leapt up. But after reading the poem, the reader's heart does not leap up. Look, this is why what he says, personality is different from the emotion. Means what? Poet as a person is different from poetry. When he wrote, my heart leaps up, poet's heart leaps up. But the reader's heart does not leap up. Because he does not get such emotion. The emotion Wordsworth got when he wrote Rainbow, that was the reason, might have been there because his heart leaps up. He gives an importance. So, these are the ideas that impersonality theory, slowly he comes to the theory of emotion. Impersonality theory is the major idea. Personality different from poem. Poet as a person different from poem. There are two separate things. But when he comes to emotion, first point you understand, T.S. Eliot does not give significance to emotion. No emotion required. What emotion? Emotion of the poet may be concerned during when he wrote the poem. But after writing, poet's emotion finish. T.S. Eliot says. Poet's mind is like, so he says, Poet's mind is like a shred of platinum, and the poet works as like a catalyst. Underline this term, very important, catalyst. Catalyst. All right, catalyst. All right, this is a very important word, catalyst. He is a scientist like, he is a mediator like. A poet is only a catalyst. What is meant by catalyst? It is just like an experimental basis. They will ask you, just like when oxygen and sulfur dioxide are mixed in the presence of filament of platinum. This is the example given in the tradition, individual talent. What is meant by poetic emotion? First thing, he does not give importance to emotion, but he describes emotion. What you get a pleasure from the poem is based on experiment, because writer, poet becomes a catalyst. A poet becomes a catalyst, a vehicle or the driver of a vehicle which gives you. For that he gives an example. Oxygen on the one hand, all right, sulfur dioxide on the other hand, they mix in the presence of filament of platinum. Filament of platinum, it is given, filament of platinum. They form, after, in the presence of filament of platinum, oxygen and sulfur dioxide mixed. Result what? You will get H2SO4. You will get sulfuric acid. He says. So, oxygen as a component, sulfur dioxide on the other hand, they mix it in the presence of filament platinum. Result will be H2SO4, sulfuric acid. New acid contains no trace of platinum. After you get H2SO4, after mixing these two, you get H2SO4, means sulfuric acid. This sulfuric acid does not show any signal of platinum. Look, this is the may of what is called catalytic theory. Catalytic theory. Sometimes they will ask you, what is catalytic theory? Similarly, the mind of poets remain unaffected by the poem he writes. The poem does not do anything significantly to the mind of the poet. So, once it is written, it is over. He is only a chemist and not a medicine. All right, poet is only a chemist, druggist. He will give you medicine. Whether it would affect you, whether it would kill you, whether it would save your life, that is decided by God. That decided by the prescriber, not by the chemist or druggist, pharmacist in the medical shop. Another example he gives, a painter who is a hunter. It is very beautiful example. It is given in this Cleanthrope textbook. All right. He wants to more clarify catalytic theory. He says, a person who is a painter, who is also a hunter. All right. He paints a beautiful picture of a tiger. He makes a beautiful picture of a tiger. When the third party looks at the tiger, the third party will get fear. But the painter does not get fear over tiger. Neither tiger gets fear over the hunter, because it is only a painting. To more clarifying, painter who is a hunter makes a picture of a tiger. Neither tiger nor the painter gets fear, but the onlooker, perceiver, spectator, one who is watching will get a fear. That is different thing. In this way, poet is only a hunter like a painter who gives a picture of a tiger. The picture does not make anything fear on the painter who is the poet, but the reader who may be thinking this tiger will make the painter afraid of, or the painter when he painted the picture would have been afraid of. That is different interpretations, T.S. Eliot says. So he is not afraid of the tiger. Tiger is not also afraid of the painter. Several emotions are combined to use. The greatness of the poem is not based on the intensity of emotion. Here there is no meaning for emotion. Emotion was a prominent factor during the time of Wordsworth in Romanticism, but T.S. Eliot and his contemporaries do not give prominence to importance of emotion. Once a poem is written, it is totally different, like a baby from a mother. All right, when it is growing, many changes happening like that. Once it is created, the creator has no role to make it changes, but it is to be decided by the user. It is to be used by the reader. That is the personality theory and emotion theory by our T.S. Eliot. Poet is not a personality but a medium through which he interacts the reader. Poet is only an mediator. He will talk and interact with the readers. Poetic process is process of concentration, not a recollection. That is also against romantic theory's opposite. What is given by romantic theory? By Wordsworth, poem is spontaneous overflow of powerful feelings. It originates its emotions recollected in tranquility, he says, but totally attacked by modern writer T.S. Eliot in tradition and individual talent. He says it is not at all a process of concentration and recollection. It is his total experience, what he experiences in the present time, because he is the realistic man who talks to the reality to the people. So, poetic emotion is like a similar mind of the poets remain unaffected by the poem he writes. So, poem is different from poet, and poet is away from poetry when it is written. That is called poetic emotion. So, poet is never dead, it lives in the present. The poet, he never dies, but he lives in the present. Artistic process is a process of depersonalization. Poet always, according to T.S. Eliot, poet should always surrender to his work. A mature poet only can contribute the best to the people. That is important. The best poet will contribute to the public. In this way, we have impersonality theory of the poetry supported by poetic emotion. So emotion has nothing to do with the poetry, as our T.S. Eliot says. We have two more tools and two very important two small ideas that will be discussed in the next class. That time our T.S. Eliot is a mega topic will be totally finished. Then that area is called objective correlative, that already you might have been taught by your teacher. It is coming in the last module of your criticism. Then disassociation of sensibility. For the completion of T.S. Eliot, I will discuss in the next class what is called disassociation of sensibility and objective correlative in addition to your class. That will be the last stage of T.S. Eliot. Then till that moment, I tell you goodbye.